at its heart, it's a space opera that owes a lot to our great loves growing up. It owes a lot to Saturday morning cartoons and bad space opera and bad science fiction and good science fiction. It owes itself to spy movies and romances and westerns. It is this wonderful mishmash of characters that absolutely do not belong in the same story and how they interact together.
The Amaranth is basically a childhood dream that I could never let go of. It was all those afternoons at the park spent running around with lightsabers. It was all those Saturday morning cartoons I watched. It was all the comic books I collected. It was all of the video games I played as a child. For me, it's a way of not letting go of the creativity and the wonderment that comes naturally with childhood that gets taken from us as we get older and have to join the real world, as it were.
Kate is a labor of love for me, and probably the part of the novel that comes most completely from my brain. But I'm going to be honest, who is my favorite character, who I enjoy writing the most, is Xander Pacius. And he's not in the novel a lot. He's kind of in the beginning, and he's kind of in the end. And he's less a main character, and he's more kind of this background driving force. And it's fun to write this man. And part of why it's fun to write this man is because there are things you guys don't know yet that you're going to see going forward. But he is a leader, but he's not a leader because he particularly wants to be. He's a leader because he feels he has to be. But in that context, he's passionate in a broken way, and he's strong in a very reluctant way. And that's really fun. It's really fun to write a captain like that.
Lithia and Aurelius come out very easy. They're the least of all characters that should be in these situations. They're young. They're not really involved in the bigger picture. They're just two kids that get caught up in something. And when I look at my life, I can remember a number of times where that was a prevalent feeling, when I was just kind of caught up in something and I had to just act. And when I just acted, maybe I got scraped up, but there's something to be said about going with your gut instinct and going with the naivety that youth brings. And Lithia and Aurelius, I think, symbolize that in two different ways for me. I do a lot of the primary writing for those characters, and they've always been really easy characters to write. The Amaranth Chronicles Deviant Rising is different from the Amaranth in the sense that we rewrote the story from the ground up as more mature writers. The first time around, Chris and I were kind of fumbling, and I don't know that we had the support that we were looking for from our original publisher. We've matured a lot as writers. We're almost done with the sequel, and we decided that if we were going to publish the sequel, we need to make sure the first book was rock solid. So we've gone back and we've rewritten it from the ground up, and I'm really glad we had this opportunity because I am so satisfied with this rewrite. Where do I see the Amaranth Chronicles going? That's a great question. I'm going to answer that question kind of a roundabout way. A lot of people have been asking me, why do you have so much art for a book? So where I plan on taking this series, like Chris and I have been saying, we have the first book done, and now we've rewritten it in a way that makes it a lot easier to digest. We also have a sequel that's about 70% finished, and we are slated for a third book as well. Where I want to take this series is after the 3 books are done, I want an animated series. I want a computer-generated animated series on Netflix, on Cartoon Network, on Sci-Fi Channel, I don't care. And I want to bring this story that so many of our readers will have loved and enjoyed and connected with to a broader audience.
if we can get this funded here on Inkshares, then I'm going to be writing the Amaranth Chronicles 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. If we don't get this funded on Inkshares, I'm still going to bring you the Amaranth Chronicles. I want more of this story. I want more of this world. And if you come help us here on Inkshares, I think we're going to be able to give you more of that than any other way we can make this happen.
If we get our support here on Inkshares, this is the genesis of something. This is arguably one of the hardest steps. How do you get people to buy into you early on? After you've put out a few pieces of work and people start liking it and you start getting a backlog of pre-orders and followers, the ball's already kind of going. It's easy to kind of keep momentum. But the next 5 years is only going to happen if we're able to hit our goal here on Inkshares. Our target audience for this story, even though it was influenced by some hardcore nerdorama like Star Trek, Star Wars, Final Fantasy, Deus Ex, and maybe 30 or 40 other series, I think the target audience for this story is actually a very casual market. The way we've written our characters to be very emotional and be very emotionally driven, I think connects to a broader audience than just cold hard facts of people on a spaceship. By supporting us here on Inkshares, you're being a part of this. You're not just buying into a series in the beginning. You're not just fashioning us with the ability to write more stories. You're helping shape this universe. With your guys' feedback, with your guys' comments on our manuscripts, both this one and our sequels moving forward, your input is literally help shaping this thing. By supporting us here, now, today, on Inkshares, you are helping determine the future of this story. For those of you who were early adopters of our story with the Amaranth, we thank you so much for reading our book, for buying our book, and giving us feedback. We've taken that feedback now, and we've incorporated it into this new version. This is the fixed version. And I really hope all of you early adopters take a look at us, come back and take a look at this version.